I normally try to refrain from posting one-sided blowouts on YouTube because, of course, you can just log on to the game any time of the day, any day of the week, and load into a one-sided blowout to feel the experience for yourself. However, there's a purpose to this one. We're going to be taking a look at the legendary tier American battleship Louisiana, which is a free Bureau project these days. But this video is not so much about the ship itself. Instead, it's about the commander we have at the helm. His name is Commander Riker. I'll put the build up here, and we're going to talk about his skill tree in detail, so keep in mind what you see there. But he's at the helm of Louisiana, and he is a freely obtainable reward for completing the ongoing calendar event, which as of the recording of this video still has 11 days to go. In order to complete this event, you would essentially have to log into the game on a daily basis, go to the calendar, and look at the daily missions for it. All of them, in my experience, are pretty easy. But you may miss a day or two. If that happens and you don't unlock the mission, you have 3 free redeems. You can go to the day you missed, you can press square or maybe A on the Xbox controller, and you can unlock the mission for free, up to 3 times. Now, after you've done it 3 times, you'd have to pay 250 doubloons for each additional day missed. So, it is a freely completable mission, and I think I would recommend doing it because Commander Riker is pretty good. His main gimmick is in the 4th row, which we'll talk about, and I've actually got an example, more than one example in this battle, of it working and in action. So we'll get to see whether that's worth it. But basically, Riker is designed to be a commander for the hybrid American battleships. He's got a lot of skills that affect the airstrikes. That, however, is not the reason I would recommend him. So his base trait, we'll start off with that. Keep in mind I've got him rank 14, legendary level 2. So he's not fully maxed. The stats I read, the numbers I read, are going to be influenced by the fact that he's rank 14, legendary 2. His base trait is called number 1. It reduces airstrike cooldown at this level by 2.4% and reduces rudder shift time by the same amount, 2.4%. Then in the first row of skills, we've got a choice of Flammable Cannoneer, not one for the nuisance, Agile Seagull, which I think is something you can find on the historical Joseph Reeves commander, reduces battleship turret traverse speed and rudder shift time by a fairly large chunk, and then No Fly Zone. Of course, on my build, I've got Flammable Cannoneer selected for the better accuracy and the longer range on the main battery. In the second row, we've got Gyrating Drill Bits, Crisscross, or Bird's Eye View. I, of course, have Bird's Eye View selected. That increases airstrike attack range and main battery range. Third row of skills, Sea Wings, or On Second Thought, or Marksmanship. I've got Sea Wings selected, and that increases airstrike cruising speed and maximum movement speed of the ship itself. And then finally, in the 4th row of skills, we have a choice between Master Mechanic, Iron Feathers, which increases aircraft HP, or the unique skill, Pegasus, which, well, we'll see that skill in action here. I've launched torpedoes at an enemy ship, and take a look at the reload time on the consumable. You see it's 114, 113. Oh, goes down to 107. That's the skill in action. What it does is it reduces the current airstrike cooldown if the squadron hits an enemy with a torpedo at least once. So you've got to launch the airstrike, as we did at that enemy ship over there. It's got to hit with 1 torpedo, and if it does, it reduces the cooldown time on the already cooling down airstrike consumable, or armament. I guess it's not a consumable. Anyway, as for the actual numbers, at this rank 14 Legendary 2, it reduces the time it takes for the airstrike to cool down by 6%. Now, with Riker at the helm and his base trait in effect, the airstrike cooldown on the Louisiana is 87.8 seconds. Keep in mind that is again with Riker at rank 14 Legendary 2. 6% buff. The 6% buff amounts to 5.3 seconds. So it's not very large. You could see it there in that earlier example. Now, of course, that is not the skill fully maxed. If you get this guy up to rank 16 legendary 4, then the percentage tops out at 10%. So that would be about 9 seconds. Whether that is worth it, I don't know. It's certainly a reduction to the airstrike cooldown, and it's not unhelpful. The airstrikes are, of course, very powerful. The Louisiana, in particular, drops 6 torpedoes with each airstrike. And, well, you saw the damage that they did against our first target. I think it might have been around 20k. In fact, I think you can pretty easily do 20k if you land all 6 torpedoes on something that doesn't necessarily have the best torpedo reduction. And then, of course, you've got the 10 main battery guns with American AP and also good HE characteristics that can, start floods, or rather fires if you've got floods started with the torpedoes. So increasing the DPM of the torpedoes, certainly not a bad idea. But I don't know if a maximum 9-second buff to the reload time is really going to make or break anything for you. Again, it's not unhelpful. But there are other reasons you might want to use Riker on the American hybrid battleships, and it's not necessarily for the plane skills. Instead, if we think back to the skill tree, remember that we've got Flammable Cannoneer in the first row, and we've got the choice of Master Mechanic in the fourth row. That is the main reason I would say you might want to pick Riker up. He's sort of like Henry J. Hyde, for example, where he combines the archetype of battleship commander that's exemplified by somebody like William Sims. The guy that will increase the main battery range and increase the accuracy, but doesn't really have any survivability improving skills like Master Mechanic. And then you've got other commander archetypes like the one represented by Willis Lee, where you get Master Mechanic. You also get the choice of the brawling skill, but you've got nothing to put into accuracy. This guy, Riker, combines both of those archetypes by putting Flammable Cannoneer and Master Mechanic together, so you can get the extra main battery accuracy and main battery range out of the Flammable Cannoneer, but then you can also get yourself up to 2 extra heals to, compensate for the fact that if you take Flammable Cannoneer, you increase the risk that you'll be caught on fire by 13%. That's a lot easier to swallow when you've got, 2 extra heals to heal the 100% healable fire damage. So that, I would say, is the reason to go for Riker. Otherwise, you could go for Reeves if you want somebody to run on the American hybrids that buff the plane characteristics. Reeves has exactly the same skills in the first, second, and third row as Riker does. The only difference is in Reeves' first row, he does not have Flammable Cannoneer. He does have Master Mechanic in the fourth row, but you've got nothing to spec into accuracy on him, whereas you do on Riker. And then as for Reeves' unique skill, it's called Naval Aviator. It increases the speed of the torpedoes, decreases the arming time, and increases the damage of the torpedoes. That might actually be more useful than cutting down the reload on the airstrike consumable by up to 9 seconds. I don't really know. I suppose your mileage may vary on that. It goes down to the question of more DPM or more damage. More alpha, more efficient ways of dealing damage. I don't really know which is better. I certainly don't think the Louisiana needs any help in buffing the reload time on its airstrike. It's so ridiculously potent, as you can see from this battle. We've landed 15 torpedoes on various targets, and it's not like the main battery guns themselves are bad. We've gotten 2 citadels with them so far. We're up to 149,000 damage done with 4 fists. And there's only 1 ship left alive, which is Puerto Rico. He's way out there in the distance, and of course, we've already covered the Puerto Rico on this channel Even though he's flat broadside to us, his citadel is underwater, although at these ranges, this might be plunging fire and it might be able to hit that citadel. Don't think that would be the case at close range, although I suppose we'll never know. It looks like our shells landed too far back on the ship to access the citadel. In any case, there's your analysis of Riker. I know some of you were wondering my thoughts on it, so here you go. I'd recommend him, not necessarily for this unique skill of reducing the airstrike consumable, which, as we've seen in this battle, is of somewhat questionable utility, but just for the fact that he's got flammable cannoneer and master mechanic together. I think when I run him on these American hybrids, I'm probably going to run him with the master mechanic skill instead of the unique one, just because it is a lot nicer to have those heals. We didn't need them in this game, though. 174,000 damage done, 2 citadels, bunch of torpedo hits, because of course the Louisiana remains perfectly balanced. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.